Hello, me, Lee Benson again. I'm going to read you a bit more from A Brush with Paradise, because I'm that sort of guy. This is chapter 6. It's called George, so let me introduce you to George. George was most certainly a fully qualified member of the female species. She was a tomboy through and through, plus she fixed amazing cocktails and cars. In fact, she could fix anything, be it electrical, mechanical, physical or spiritual. She was also the local witch doctor, and everyone respected her. She had an air of don't care one iota about anything and carried it off with full honours. As far as I knew, she also lived in the mansion. I took an instant liking to George. She also reminded me of one of my artists from my gallery days. Her name was Shelley, and she used to live on a houseboat which was moored on the River Thames near Richmond. Not a narrow boat, she said, a houseboat. Luckily, Shelley never painted on huge canvases. God knows how or where she would have accomplished such a feat. On one occasion, strictly business of course, we had finished going through the paintings and celebrated by consuming far too many liquid refreshments at the pub across the way from the mooring. I stayed over. I hasten to add that there was more than one bedroom on board. The problem arose in the early hours of the morn due to the fact that Shelley had accidentally forgotten, maybe one too many sherbets for the road, to loosen off the mooring ropes. I'm sure you're all aware that the river was tidal. No, me neither. There was a loud crash, followed by the sounds of smashed china, pots and the melee of houseboat stuff. Oh shit, came the loud response from Shelley's room. I was crumpled on the floor with cushions and the duvet on top of me with an unusual view of the bedroom and galley. The boat had tilted to one side. It was tied tight but strained at the ropes. With little help from fellow boaters, we were able to level her off. Then afterwards, it took the two of us over an hour or so to clear up and rearrange the houseboat back to her shipshape condition. Actually, she looked even cleaner and tidier. However, I wouldn't dare say a word. We eventually sat down. Fancy a cuppa or something stronger? Shelley asked. I agreed to a cuppa and Shelley rolled a joint. George looked at me with a quizzed expression. I don't partake, I blurted. Strange, as neither George or myself had uttered a single word. Maybe you should. You'd unwind more. I was lost for words. I never thought I was wound up. Had George just read my mind? I unwind in my art. I get lost in the moment, I said. Whatever. You really are quite funny, though, and she ruffled my hair as if I were a pet dog. I was convinced she had read my mind. What was it with women, dogs, and my head? First Lizzie petted me, then George. It must be a thing of the islands. Woof, woof. Want to come with me? I'm going to the market to get some bits and pieces for later. Lucia's made a list, said George. Sure. Let me get my sketchbook. I'll be right there. That was very kind of her. I ran upstairs, grabbed my bag, and was down in a jiffy. George was already in the Jeep. Come on, sunset's in 5 hours, she laughed. I climbed aboard, and George throttled the Jeep into action before I had time to sit down. George had scared the shit out of me with her driving. She'd swerved past the scooter and nearly knocked the poor chap off. She waved at a couple of gents who were sat crouched by the roadside and then mercifully slowed down as we approached the market. The place was bedlam. Cars and vans strewn everywhere with no cents paid to the actual roadside parking. We walked into the fish section. I'd never seen such an array of colourful fish in my life. Huge red ones lay beside long grey ones. There was heaps of shellfish, all sizes, with massive crabs and lobstery things with loads of legs and tentacles. In front of my eyes were several of the largest ladies I've ever encountered, all sat leant over tables. They scraped off scales and chopped off heads while they laughed loud and chattered away. All compared to the thinnest, wirest, youngest lad who looked like he had never had a decent meal in his life as he served the waiting customers. The noise was incredible. I had been to concerts that were quieter in my day. However, despite the noise, the atmosphere in that place was truly spectacular. I took a stance against the metal column and sketched away. George had vanished. I knew she would return when she was ready, so I continued to capture the bustle of the place. After a while, I ventured over to one of the counters, and several massive tuna fish displayed on their sides. Oh, excuse me for yawning. There were huge red-spotted fishes and some real ugly-looking longfish. It made me smile, as it was a complete opposite of the fish section of the supermarket back home, which tended to display a few smoked haddock lengths and neatly squared off salmon pieces, along with mackerel and kippers, all arrayed on a bed of crushed ice. George appeared, laden with Lucia's shopping order. "Take one of these, please." She thrusted one of the bags at me. "With pleasure." I nearly dropped the bag with the unexpected heaviness of it. "Bloody hell! What have you got in there? It weighs a ton," I exclaimed. "What do you think? Diamonds and gold bars." She tutted at me and led the way to the Jeep. I hadn't seen any of those at the market. On the way back, we waved at the same chaps still sat by the roadside. They obviously had so much to do that day. We pulled up at the mansion with the accepted skid and cloud of dust. I had now gotten used to it. Well, more or less. "Help me with this lot, and I'll make you a special concoction after you won't say no to." "How can I refuse? By the way, is there a gym nearby so I can improve my heavyweight lifting skills?" I gathered up my strength and helped unload. "Wimp," said George, and marched off laden with a bag of feathers, no less. She was a strong woman. That's the end of chapter 6.